Today, President Obama again defended his case for making that deal with Iran. But a lot of critics, including American Republicans, Israel and Saudi Arabia, say they don't trust Iran to abide by the terms. Well, the president acknowledged that Iran, with freer access to money and unshackled from sanctions, will have greater resources to stir up trouble in the region.
I share the concerns of Israel, Saudis, Gulf partners about Iran shipping arms and causing conflict and chaos in the region. And that's why I've said to them, let's double down and partner much more effectively to improve our intelligence capacity and our interdiction capacity so that fewer of those arms shipments are getting through the net.
Joining us now is the chairman of the Moroccan Human Rights Council, Driss el-Yazami. Mr. Yazami, great to see you today. Thanks. I mentioned the outrage from Israel, the concern from Saudi Arabia, the worry here that Iran will have greater influence. What's likely to be the impact on your region with a deal with Iran that frees them from sanctions?
Yeah, I didn't read the whole agreement, and the technical appendix, and I think that the majority of the critics didn't read this agreement. But I don't think that the team, the American team, Mr. Kerry, and the European team signed this agreement without, thinking about all the consequences of this agreement. I think that we have also to take into account that we have to deal with the divided Iranian leadership. They are not unified, I think. And I think also that we have to think about the Iranian society. You remember a few years before we had lots of protests for democracy. When you look at the Iranian movies, when you look at the Iranian literature, there is a whole society which is looking for democracy, for an open relationship with the West, with the Americans. So I don't think that there is a hostile Iran which can do what it can.
But we still consider it, the United States still considers Iran a state sponsor of terror. I know you have a lot of expertise in this area of terror. If Iran has access suddenly to hundreds of billions of dollars that have previously been frozen, these oil assets, is it going to use that to stir up trouble in your region? You're an advisor to the King of Morocco. Are you warning the King we could see more problems with terrorism?
We have a difficult relationship with Iran, and in Morocco. But I think that we have, first of all, to look that the Iranian society is looking for also lots of things to be done, by the Iranian government. I think that we have to be careful about implementation. And I think also that we have to deal with the terrorism questions with more broad perspective. It's a question of intelligence. We have also to counter what we are trying to do in Morocco, the extremist and the radical religious discourse by training imams, the Muslim, the Islamic scholars. So I think that it's not only a question of Iran and West relationship.
I know Morocco is struggling with the ISIS threat like many countries in the region. And not only, we have terrorists and potential terrorists here who are inspired by ISIS. So countries around the world are trying to get a grip on this ISIS threat. But you say that there's an effective way to deal with ISIS that's been proposed by some of the Islamic countries in the region. Let's start with Morocco. Yeah. What is Morocco doing to undermine the ISIS threat?
We have to continue our work on human rights and reform. We have to continue to work for strong democracy.
Why does human rights matter if you're fighting ISIS?
Because, it's our societies, and we want universal values. We want to build our democracies against ISIS discourse. We want peace in the world. We want democracy, social justice. We have to tackle also what the Arab youth are waiting for. They are waiting for jobs. We are waiting for investment. Women in our countries are struggling for equality against discrimination. And we have also to train our religious scholars. Last week, Morocco established a new foundation, which is aimed to train African scholars about what can...
So you're saying if you give people a path toward a job and toward a livelihood where they're not struggling, where there's no cause, where they're home all day with nothing to do, you're keeping them out of the hands of ISIS terrorists?
For sure. It's a long-term battle, and it's going to be only a security matter, you know.
You also say the Kurds are doing it right. Here, we've seen Kurdish towns fall to ISIS, though. In what way are they making headway?
You know, because Kurds are struggling for freedom since decades and decades. So the universal values are within the society, you know. You have to have strong societies struggling against the Islamist radicalism.
And finally, Israel, which came out in such opposition to this deal with Iran, is finding a way to ward off the threat of terror, not only from ISIS, of course, but from Palestinian extremists as well. What are they doing right that the rest of the world should pay attention to?
I think that we have, and as you know, it's a problem for the American administration since decades. We have also to address the Palestinian issue. The final solution for Israel, you know, is the two-state solution. I think that's the whole world now wants to tackle and to fight terrorism, but we have also to take into account the rights of the Palestinian people.
Mr. el-Yazami, thank you so much for joining us today with your perspective on Iran and the threat of terror in your region.
Thanks for hosting me.